Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the GameAnyone.com podcast. We're having a lot of fun today. I am Dave the Usher, and I'm joined by my good buddies, as always, Shadowzack, Scorch82, and Volvagia. How you guys doing?
Good. Doing good, Dave.
Awesome stuff,
Fantastic.
man. Awesome stuff. Hey, guys, I don't know about you, but I'm kind of in the mood for tofu.
You know what's funny is that I got some right in front of me right now.
You really do.
I totally didn't plan that.
Scorch likes to drink coffee and have some tofu.
Yeah,
He actually dips it in his coffee like marshmallows.
Yeah,
Who
we-
doesn't do that?
We were just getting ourselves ready for this awesome podcast, and here it is, drinking our coffee, waking ourselves up, doing this stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to do a more short podcast today, we thought, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to dive into, things that we've already discussed about, but we have a couple new features, and of course, new trivia. We're going to get to that. It's going to be a lot of fun. So why don't we start off by kicking it with something we're all familiar with, current projects and future projects that, we're currently doing. Scorch, why don't you take it away?
Alright, well, as far as my current projects, some of you may have noticed that I just finished Dungeon Keeper 2, and I may do the pet dungeons on that one coming up soon, but I've picked up Batman again. I'm still working on that, and I just started uploading a new game, which will be probably submitted to the site sometime later in the day. So you'll see what that one is. I don't want to spoil it just yet. I'm still doing Titan Quest, kind of on the back burner, and Vagrant Story, of course. So as far as new projects go, I'm kind of not really thinking about that right now. I'm starting to get into the mode where I'm feeling busy and I got other stuff going on, so I'm kind of just taking it easy for a little bit. But everything I do is gold, so you'll love it. You'll love it.
You will love it. You will watch Scorch. You will love it, and you will not ask questions. No questions! Awesome.
Indeed.
What about you, Shadowzack? What are you up to lately?
Well, I finished all my last projects from the last podcast like 2 weeks ago. I just finished Darkset Days, Red Faction Guerrilla. I'm still working on Need for Speed, Resident Evil 5 co-op with Soda, and a Call of Duty 4 multiplayer guide with the other fuckheads. Future project goes, I don't know.
Whoa.
When it comes out.
Fuckheads? Explain that.
Explain the fuckheads.
Explain that.
Well,
Oh, wait. Is this thing on? Sorry about that.
But anywho, we got a lot of interesting new stuff for you. Volv, what have you been working on? You just finished up something I am familiar with.
Yeah, we just finished Mario World, yay! And I'm still in the middle of two upper projects at the same time, Banjo-Kazooie and Majora's Mask, and they're going nowhere because I'm too busy to render.
How long does it take you to render a part of those games, Volv?
They're normally about 15 minutes, so that's like 50 minutes in length when they're uploaded to YouTube, but they're like about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, I don't know, depending on what bitrate I render them at. They're old games, so you don't need that high of a bitrate, but I like to do it anyway, so...
And you don't have any projects in the future, or nothing you're thinking about specifically?
Just Banjo-Tooie, but that's probably not going to be until Christmas, and possibly, well, not possibly, I know I will do it, but, only if I get the equipment by that point. There's Blood of Gay Tony, Grand Theft Auto 4 downloadable content that comes out on the 28th of October.
That is a new game. That'll be interesting.
Yep.
For me personally, like you said, Volv, we just finished up Super Mario World co-op. That was a lot of craziness and a fun time, Volv. What'd you think of that experience?
It was insane. We had some technical difficulties, but yeah.
But we got through it.
It was a lot of fun.
We got through it. I also just finished Bushido Blade, which is an interesting game, a little different, kind of a fighting game, but more on the unusual side. I'm also still currently playing Michael Jackson's Moonwalker, everybody. Scorch does the best moonwalk out there. I dare you to challenge him. I dare you.
I taught Michael everything he knows.
It's true.
He does it at a Game Anyone party
I've
every
actually
year.
challenged him before.
So I'm gonna wrap up Moonwalker, and you know, in the future, I plan on doing some more co-op games. Don't know what, don't know with who. Maybe one of these three bastards. I don't know. But it'll be a lot of fun. I also want to do some more quick, nice Atari games. Get into the N64 maybe, and then someday soon I'll start up my my next big RPG. Those things take me like a couple months. Final Fantasy IX was crazy. But it's going to be awesome.
Whenever you do those, you got to do it, you know, balls to the wall, get everything done. Otherwise, there's no point. Go big or go home, bitches.
Go big or go home. But moving on to a new subject here, let's talk a little bit about game controllers. We've talked about video games. We kind of talked about consoles. We haven't talked about game controllers. Now, game controllers have gone over a huge change throughout the years. They started with those little Atari joysticks. Now they're wireless. Crazy stuff. Scorch, what is your history with video game controllers? What have you gone through?
Let's see, what have I gone through? Well, my first system was the NES, so obviously my first controller was the NES controller. And man, I tell you what, the NES controller only having like 5 buttons on the whole thing, they perfected that thing. I mean, the NES didn't need much as far as control went, but the NES controller is definitely one of my favorites. And the Super Nintendo controller is obviously a much better improvement for those types of games. So anytime I'm playing anything older generation, I'll go with the Super NES controller. And then anything that I'm not able to use that for, I go with the standard PlayStation 2 DualShock controller. You know, it's a good feel. It's kind of like the Super Nintendo controller, and it has joysticks. So, you know, they have adapters out there for getting that on your computer, and you know, most of them are pretty easy to use, simple. I like that.
What about you, Zach? Similar experience for you, or how did it all come down for you?
It's the opposite spectrum. I started off on the Master System controller, which is almost the same thing, kind of. That was the Sega Genesis, which had 3 buttons, or 26, depending on which controller you got. But I think my favorite controller overall, including new ones, has to be the DualShock controllers. It seems like the pinnacle of controllers. They fit perfectly in your hand.
The pinnacle.
Just the right amount of buttons for all your fingers, and you got the analog sticks and the rumble.
I just want to let everyone know that Zach's been reading a dictionary lately. He's picking up a lot of big words.
I'm sorry. Am I the only one that prepares for this stuff?
What about you, Volv? What was your history with gaming controls?
The first ever controller I used was the Sega Master System controller. I originally started playing fucking Tasmanian Devil on that thing. But I went from that to Super Nintendo to N64. Man, that thing was a spaceship. And PS2. When I got my PlayStation, it was the case if I got the one with the analog sticks, I mean, it actually felt a lot better than the N64 controller because it's so compact and tight and it works really well. But then the analog sticks just enhance it 10 times fold, basically, and increase any sort of game type and playability with it. Apart from, well, really old games when you go to use it in emulators. In fact, I still use a PS2 controller on emulators to this day, even with you when we were playing Mario World. But if I were to say basically what I prefer of all of them, I'd probably end up saying either the Super Nintendo controller or the DualShock.
Awesome stuff. For me, like many gamers out there, you know, the first thing I ever picked up, put in my hands, play a video game was the NES controller, the basic NES controller. Select, start, BA, awesome stuff. And I remember using the NES Advantage. That thing was badass, huh?
Yeah,
those big buttons, the rapid fire, of course, all that. And you know, from there I moved on to the Super Nintendo controller, which is, you know, a huge upgrade, probably one of the most famous controllers of all time. Then, of course, you know, you got into the PlayStation and Nintendo 64. And at the time, I remember the Nintendo 64 controller being just so bizarre. But when you play a game like Super Mario 64 or Mario Kart 64, things like that, I mean, it's just really appropriate, you know, for the types of games. So you really just get used to it. I would probably say my favorite controller of all time would be the PlayStation 1 controller. I just like how it feels in my hand. Just kind of a nice grip. Then, of course, you get into the newer generation systems with the crazy Wii controller, which I'm still not really comfortable with, probably because I don't own a Nintendo Wii myself. And then you had that Xbox controller, which was just huge, bulky. That was probably the worst.
Oh, the first generation Xbox controller? Yeah, that was They revamped it and made it a little better, but even then it's still a huge controller.
It was pretty
Yeah.
big.
The buttons on it were stupidly placed. I mean, black and white right underneath it, the standard 4 buttons. That was retarded.
You know what? It reminded me almost of a Dreamcast controller when I first saw the
Oh,
Xbox.
I didn't like the Dreamcast controller either.
It had like a little glass thing in the middle,
Or
didn't
the
it?
GameCube.
I like the GameCube controller. In fact, I own like 4 of them. But yeah, they're pretty good. But GameCube controllers are only good when they're its first brand Nintendo crap. But when it's anyone else that's making a GameCube controller, it's a piece of shit.
That's a good
I got one of those. I got one of those third-party mini GameCube controllers that was good for a little while, and then the thing started to crap out on me. Like the contacts on the joystick started failing, and like when I'm sitting in the controller, like not moving it, it would be detecting I'm moving to the left or some shit. And I'm like, man, such a good controller, but they fucked it up.
Was it made by Mad Cats? Because I have a small
Yeah,
Mad Catz
it was. It was the mini Mad Catz
Oh,
controller.
the Mad Cats. Do they still make Mad Cats controllers?
Yeah.
Probably do.
Yeah, that's crazy. I think I had a Sega Genesis one.
It's
They
hit or
need
miss
to-
and stuff like that.
The latest thing that I made for Mad Cats was a Street Fighter 4 controller, and it's a piece of shit. So
Does anybody remember the Turbo Touch controllers for
Yeah.
Super Nintendo back
Yeah, I
in the
remember the
day?
Turbo Touch.
yeah, I think I still
got a
have
couple
one.
of those. Yeah, I got 2 of those back. They were advertising them and selling them at like kiosks in the mall, and I remember getting a couple of those because I was at the time playing a lot of Street Fighter, and it was really good for doing the moves and stuff. But anything outside of that, because they were so huge, was just a pain in the ass. I think it was a good concept, but a horribly designed empire right there.
I had a Sega Genesis, like, fancy turbo controller. They had, like, 30 buttons on there, switches for each turbo mode for all the buttons up top. It just looks like, man, that is a big, bulky beast. And just all it does is just change how fast the turbo was.
The Super
Like-
Nintendo had a controller that kind of had something like that. It was the ASCII pad, I think is what it was called, where they gave you
Oh,
switches
yeah.
for all of the different buttons.
Yeah, switches. It's like, man.
Yeah,
But
you
it
can
was-
turn them
it was
on and
small
off.
enough. Yeah, it was small enough to be like a decent controller.
Yeah, some of them were great. Some of them were ridiculous, but controllers have come a long way. And, who knows where the hell it's going to go next. 10 years from now, what is it going to be, like a controller in our mind? We don't know. It's going to be awesome. But
They got
moving
that
on,
coming now.
we have something to announce here. It's a brand new little activity for the GameAnyone.com community. We're announcing the first annual Game Anyone Poster Awards, which is going to be taking place right on the Game Anyone forums. It's going to be great. If you want to know more info about that, well, you can go to the forums there, and there are the rules that explain the activities of the nominations and voting process, and it's going to be a lot of fun. What do you guys think about that?
I think it's going to be a good way to get people involved in what's going on with the Game Anyone community. Not just your typical forum banter, but we're basically going to have some criteria for both forum posting and walkthrough contributions, so people can nominate who they think fits best for that type of award. And after maybe like a week or 2 of nominations, we'll have official votes, and then we can announce the awards in some fashion and give prizes. I think it'll be a really good way to get everyone involved.
Good way to get the community active, get the forums active, get the members to meet other members, stuff like that, and watching more videos. That's what it's about. So that's gonna
Hopefully
be a
it'll
lot of fun.
inspire someone.
Good.
Hey, some
community
of the awards that I've looked at, people can be entitled to them twice, depending on how good of a member they are.
Yeah, there
Or-
can be 2 people winning an award, or maybe 3 awards, 4 awards. It could be like plenty. There's a lot of talented people out there that could take home a lot of bacon.
Shadows hat.
Who's hungry for some bacon?
Fake bacon.
Fake bacon, Canadian bacon. Oh,
Yeah.
awesome
Ooh.
stuff.
Them's fighting words.
But we're gonna move on to our next section, which is the Q&A, something you're all familiar with. We love the Q&A, and we got a couple of great questions that were put on the forums. We're gonna read them right now. The first one is, what was your first experience with a video game like? Scorch?
Let's see. My first experience with a video game was obviously with the NES when I got it. I think I was like 4 or 5 years old. I remember I played Super Mario Brothers for the first time, and you know, when you're like 4 or 5 years old, you kind of have an idea what's going on. You know, your motor skills aren't technically there, and you know, you got this new thing in front of you, and you're like, what the hell is this? I remember I played for like maybe a day or two the first level of Mario Brothers and couldn't get anywhere. And by the time I finally did, I was like, you know, so proud that I finally reached World 1, 2, and then, you know, realized that was so hard because it was so different. And, you know, I just remember it was a big learning experience. I had a lot of fun. I remember my first bits of frustration have started because of that. I don't know if anybody's ever seen the AVGN How He Got His Start video kind of a thing where he's playing Mario Brothers and he's flipping out. That, you know, that's the telltale myth of most gamers, that they flip out when they're kids playing video games. But, I remember that was good times. I had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, for me it was pretty much the same thing. I can't recall, you know, all of it, but there's bits and pieces. I was on a vacation somewhere. I think maybe at the shore somewhere in Maryland or Jersey, something like that. And I remember just seeing this TV, and these other kids were playing something. And I was like, what is going on? What is that on the screen? I don't know what a video game is. What's going on here? Somebody help me. So, you know, they handed me the controller, and it's like, you play this. You move that on the screen. So I was moving it around, and I got through the first level. And what really stands out to me in my head was World 1, 2, when you were down the pipe, and, you know, the whole blue background and color scheme, and then the music was playing, and, like, everything was just crazy and blue. And it just stood out for me, and I remember dying. It probably stands out to me because I died like 50,000 times, and I could not get past World 1, 2, and it was just horrible. And I remember those damn turtles, and we all know how the turtles talk.
Ooh, I'm gonna kill you! I am a bastard turtle from Super Mario Brothers.
I hate those
I
guys.
used to call that level the basement.
The basement.
I got to the basement.
The basement. That's awesome.
Good times.
But what about you, Zach? Is it similar for you, you know, with the whole Super Mario Brothers, or what was your first gaming experience?
My first gaming experience was like playing Rampage and Fantasy Zone on the Master System. I don't remember it too well because from what my parents told me, when I was like probably 3 or 4, I accidentally pulled the TV down and crushed my Master System. I don't remember it because it's probably a suppressed memory, so I don't have a nervous breakdown destroying my game. But after that, like my main thing was probably playing like Sonic 1 on the Sega when my dad first brought it home.
That's pretty funny, man. You actually crushed the Master System. What about the TV? Was that thing okay?
Yeah, it was fine. I had that TV many years up until my house burnt down.
Throw that one in there.
Oh no! Let's just throw that out there. What about you, Volv? Did you crush TVs and video game consoles? Was there a fire?
No, but the worst thing I did to a console ever was I broke the trap door on the Model 2 Master System. That was when I was like 5, but I started off in a Master System. I was playing Tasmania Devil on Master System, and my god, that game is such a bitch when you're like 3 or 4 years old and you don't know what the hell to do. You have to kill little like creatures and stuff and eat food and wives and keep Taz alive and spin around and basically standard Looney Tunes shit that he does on TV. And I can never get past like, the second level. I don't think I've ever did it in this actual day and age.
Those are a couple of awesome stories there, man.
Yeah.
But everyone has something different. I think Zach's was pretty funny, actually.
Did I say
wasn't aware of
something? Is it me? Does it seem like the first level of all the old video games is the most nostalgic levels?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I remember. Like most
I
of my
remember
old
level
games.
2. Everybody just remembers level 1.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's because that's where you start.
But
Unless you're a cheater.
but moving on to our second question here. This one's a doozy. Oh god. What problems have you ever run into while recording a walkthrough? Anything, Scorch? Does anything come to mind?
God. Well, recording walkthroughs is one of those things that can be different for everybody, no matter what you're doing or what tutorials you follow. It's literally whatever your style is. So, to name a few things, yeah, I've had some problems, but, the first one just being the general trial and error, figuring it out, I've had to go through numerous types of setup and configuration, program download, program settings, and upload settings, and asking people what's going on. How come this doesn't work? Just getting through all that is kind of a task in and of itself. And, a lot of people don't seem to realize how much work we put into doing stuff like this. When they ask for help, and we may not seem as responsive or giving them the answers they want because of something like that. It's really a lot of trial and error. But to name a few things, I've had audio, like my commentary, crash on me in the middle of a playthrough. So, whether or not I know it at the time or I finish and realize, oh shit, it fucked up, I'll have to go and either re-record the part or do it after the fact. I've had that happen a few times. And there was one time, I think it was like my second playthrough, I was playing Puss in Boots for the NES, and it's a game that I'd played several times before but never managed to beat the last boss. I finally did it on recording, and I had my commentary and everything. I was like, yes, I finally beat the game. And I go to render it and realize the audio wasn't captured, so I had to go back and fucking play it again, and I was like, ugh.
I'm
so
laughing at Scorch's pain and misery.
Misery. Yeah, so if you actually watch that playthrough, despite it sounding a lot different than my current stuff, obviously, I make reference to, I had some audio problems. Well, that was what happened, and I was pretty pissed about that, but it's like a 15-minute game, so it's, it's more of a personal accomplishment rather than a real hardship. But that's the kind of stuff you deal with.
What about you, Zach? What have you had to deal with?
Oh god. Well, most of the time it's mainly audio problems. Like, most recently, like, I'll get a call on Skype while I'm in game and I'll ignore it. But Skype will change my recording like input from like stereo mix, which is what Fraps pick up, to microphone. So about halfway through a game or so, you'll hear my audio just completely change around from like hearing the game to just hear me go.
Oh no!
It's usually audio is the biggest problem. I had one game where the audio was just totally out of sync with the stuff going on screen. No matter how many times I would re-record it, the audio would never stay in sync with the game. So, other than that, I really don't have like video problems, unless I'm rendering something, and then that's
That reminds me, that's a big one, is audio desync. A lot of people seem to have that one.
Yeah.
You have to sync up your audio with your videos, right, Scorch?
Yeah, it's a different kind of desync. I mean, the stuff that most people will encounter is the actual in-game video and audio will be off, which shouldn't happen, but it can when you record. But those who do commentary on with separate programs or use different mics or on consoles or something have to record their commentary separately and then line the commentary up with the gameplay while they render. That's something that can be a pain in the ass at first, but once you do it so much, you just get used to it. But it's there'll be times where I'll fuck up and I'll be like half second off, and I'll get someone pointing it out. Hey, your audio's a little off. At blah blah blah, and I'll be like, ugh.
Just close your eyes.
I know. Just imagine.
What about you, Volv? How's it all working out for you?
Audio can always be a problem, regardless of what it is. I mean, like with most of us, it's audio. Like commentary, when I use Audacity to capture my voice when I do console games, and it's just like sometimes it won't find my input device right away because of what Skype sets it as, and it's just a case of when I go to look at it in Audacity, it's fine, it's running, and then, you know, I'll be in a Skype call, and then I'll go back, and Audacity's still open, so I push the record button, and I think it's running okay. I go to record, I do about, I don't know, about 40 minutes to get like 4 parts done. I go back, I go to save the files, guess what? There's no voice, there's no track, it's just a flat line going on for 40 fucking minutes. And that's it. 40 minutes of commentary gone, and I need to redo it again.
Oh, God, that's horrible.
Yeah.
I hate that shit.
But,
the flat line is like the worst thing.
But for me, I mean, you guys talked a lot about audio problems. I've never really had to deal with a lot of audio, you know, stuff like that. It's been pretty smooth for me. Back in the day when I used Cam Studio and HyperCam 2, those old boys, I would get a lot of codec problems. I was always switching a video codec, trying to make the resolution of the recording look better, and it was always just a disaster. So I found that Screen Virtuoso program, which it seemed to be great. I was recording Final Fantasy VII with it, and I started rendering it in Vegas, and I got these red squares, which kind of messed things up. I don't know what that was all about. And I finally switched over to Camtasia, took care of that, and I've been using Camtasia ever since. Until recently, I was recording Bushido Blade. And when I would open that in Camtasia, the red bars came back for some reason, so I had to update it, get Sony Vegas 9, which just came out, and that was a lot of kind of annoyance because I had to set everything up again. But it worked. Bushido Blade came out pretty good. I was using Screen Virtuoso again on that. So it's just kind of, you know, whenever you use a new game, whenever you do a new game, you have to do a test, make sure it all works right, because you might have to switch recording devices, use something else, kind of mix and match. Every time you do a different game, it's a new story.
Yeah, you know, that actually reminds me of something that happened to me last night. Speaking of my new project that I just uploaded today, I had to change my recording setup because the game's a little older. And you remember, Dave, when we were working on some of your arcade stuff?
Yeah.
Remember we had some codec problems where, you know, how you record it, like sometimes Vegas 9, if most people run the 64-bit version, there's a lot of incompatibilities. So I had to switch to a different recording method on this new game. And when I went and put it in Sony Vegas, I realized there was no video track. And I was like, oh, fuck. So, you know, I ran into that issue where I had to open the video file, watch it in Movie Player, and then use Fraps to re-record it so I could get, you know, a proper video feed. You know, and it was like half an hour of footage, so I'm like, oh, God damn it, now you have to let this thing play through, you know, just to get the video. So, I mean, there's some crazy shit we have to go through to get some of this stuff working sometimes.
Scorch did that all just for me. Thank you, Scorch.
Yeah, I had to redo it again because I forgot what was the problem to begin with.
Mace Man's also done the same type of process for me too with the arcade games.
Yes.
But hey, they look sweet. They look sweet. Good stuff.
Yes. Shit is tight as hell.
So as you guys can see, it is crazy out there. It's crazy. The whole process takes a lot of time. Moving on to the question number 3, which, ooh yeah, this is a doozy. This is an awesome one. I like this question a lot. What is your favorite video game vehicle? That could be land, air, water, space, anything. And for me, the only thing that comes to mind is the Warthog from Twisted Metal 2. Well, Twisted Metal 2 specifically, but I believe the Warthog was actually in every Twisted Metal game, I think, in one version, form, or another. But the Warthog was just awesome. It was a tough bastard. It wasn't that fast, but it was fast enough. It got the job done. It had an awesome special. It was like a fucking bulldozer out there. I just love playing the Twisted Metal games. Always selecting my main man, the Warthog, and we would tear shit up, man. I wish I drove a Warthog. I want to go to Subway, and I'm gonna go driving down the streets in my Warthog, and I'm just gonna crush the cars. Get the fuck out of my way. I want a fucking $5 footlong, baby. That'd be awesome. That would be awesome. Scorch, what about you?
See, I had a few of them that came to mind, and I know I'm going to get a lot of inspiration from what you guys are saying, obviously, but I remember one of the first memorable ones that I can remember was the Landmaster tank from Star Fox 64.
Oh
It
god.
was like, you know, if you played the first Star Fox, you're like, oh yeah, this is a pretty good game. You know, it's hard as balls. And they came out with the Star Fox 64 on the 64, and they're like, oh yes, you know, you can get, you know, new vehicles besides the R-Wing, and one of those was the Landmaster, and it was a good time for that. And also any vehicle that you could drive in Unreal Tournament was kind of a, you know, your first step into being able to, you know, play a first-person shooter, you know, deathmatch with someone, and have something other than the guns. You know, you can use a vehicle to start raping people. And then I had a couple of choices from like Mass Effect. I like the giant spaceship that you get there, the SSV Normandy. Kind of like those home base kind of things that travel around. It's a nice feeling in certain games. And then the Ebon Hawk from Knights of the Old Republic. That's some good shit right there.
Those are some interesting choices.
Yeah.
But what about you, Volv? What stands out in your mind?
The Bill car from Mario Kart Double Dash. That's always stands out in my mind because that thing is a bloody beast when it comes to that game. It can take most of the things that, you know, is fired at it for... it's got most of the agility anyway when you're getting fired at by shells and stuff, you can avoid things a lot easier because of how fast it can swipe side to side. And, like, basically the speed it can get as well. I think it's just amazing in that game, but... otherwise, nothing really comes to mind besides what's already been said about the Landmaster tank, so...
Yeah.
And Zach, for you?
Oh man, no question. My fans of my video would know. Playing Saints Row 2, my favorite vehicle would be to get the tow trucks and go to the paint job, or like the garage, and paint that thing with like pink and purple camo. Get like the Roman like kneecap spikes on the trucks or the rims, and just like deck that thing out and drive it around. That was just my favorite thing. 'Cause you could tow stuff in there. You go like pick up a giant bus or a semi truck, the trailer. You can just like drift around corners and stuff, man. It was awesome. So the tow truck, Saints Row 2.
That's good stuff. You know,
I forgot to add in something, sorry, but actually the Yakuza car from Grand Theft Auto 3 is probably the best car in the game when it comes to drifting around corners and speed getaways, so that goes in there as well, especially with its damage that it can take.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
No, I'm surprised nobody said the Spy Hunter car from Spy Hunter.
But I
That's what Sam
got another
picked.
vehicle that comes to mind. Actually, the jet plane from the video game Wipeout. Remember those?
Oh.
Even though it had kind of
yeah.
awkward controls you had to get used to. Remember that thing?
Yeah.
Well, it couldn't be any worse than the airplane from Grand Theft Auto 3, you know, the unofficial vehicle.
Oh, the Dodo? Yeah.
Yeah, that fucking thing, you couldn't fly that if your life depended on it.
It's possible to fly, but it's really, really hard.
It was a bitch.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff. Hey guys, guess what? Guess what time
What?
it is?
I don't know.
It's trivia time! It's trivia time, everybody! Have a round of applause. That's good stuff. Okay, guys, so you're probably familiar with trivia. We did this last time. What we do is we're going to ask you a couple questions. Then when you're done listening and, hearing what we have to say to you, you go to the podcast form. There's going to be topics there you can post in there. The first person to successfully answer correctly wins! Awesome stuff. So we got 4 questions, and the first question being this. In the game Final Fantasy IX, who is the first character to speak starting in Disc 2? If you know the answer, head over to the podcast form, check it out. Good stuff.
Okie dokie. Finisher Rhyme, made by Gruntilda and Rare's Banjo-Kazooie on the Nintendo 64 and recently released on the Xbox Live Arcade. Granny admits she's a hog, and if you know the rest of that rhyme, you can go ahead and put it in the forums also, and if you get it right, then you'll get credits for it. Yay, money.
Awesome.
Go credits. Okay, so this one is going to be a little different. We're going to show an image up on the screen, and I need you to identify what game-related image is this.
Are you looking at it? Are you looking
Look
at it? Does it
hard.
look familiar? Does it look familiar? No? No? Yes? Yes? Podcast form! Hurry!
Everyone posts.
Awesome
So,
stuff.
to clarify, I'd like to, you need to be able to answer who it is and what it's from. Alright, it is video game related, so that's the hint.
My question is, name the theme being played right now.
Awesome, man. So, if you can identify that theme that you just heard, head over to the podcast forum, check it out. Hopefully these will take you a little bit longer to figure out. We want to stump you, man. We want to stump you.
Yeah, but the first round that we did for these, we were kind of a little disappointed that it didn't last a little longer. So, as we go on, we're going to start, coming up with questions that are, not exactly Google friendly. So those of you that use Google, shame on you. Shame.
That's like cheating, man. That's like cheating.
It's like bringing, notes into the test, man.
But anyway, it's been a lot of fun, guys. I mean, our Game Anyone raffle just ended. We had a winner. We're probably going to put up a new raffle pretty soon, so you're going to want to check that out. We got a lot of new features and things coming to Game Anyone. A lot of top secret stuff. A lot of new features. Everything is always getting new and updated. It's going to be a lot of fun. But I think it's been a great podcast. What do you think, guys?
Yeah, it's been good.
You good? Yeah, I kind of like it short.
Yeah, this has been a shorter one. I think we actually expected it to be even shorter than it is now, but hey, it went by pretty smoothly.
We're half the size of the current ones. I think we're doing pretty good.
Awesome. So, guys, any final thoughts, any closing comments you want to share with the people of Game Anyone?
Be good to yourself and each other.
Jerry
And-
Springer.
Party on, dudes!
Party on, Scorch.
The corner of my ass crack is really itchy right now.
All right. And on that awesome, great note, I think we're going to call it a wrap. Well, guys, we want to thank you for being here with us today. Thank you for listening to our podcast. Don't forget about the podcast trivia questions. Go check that out. Good stuff. All right, everybody, say goodbye. It's been a lot of fun.
Bye-bye.
Yay!
Bye.
Peace out.